That evening, as darkness fell over the village, Ikenna and his friends took their positions around Noma's house. Noma felt nervous but hopeful as she went to bed. The night was quiet, and the village lay peaceful under the starry sky, with only the soft sounds of nature and the watchful eyes of friends guarding the secrets of the night. In this village, there was always a festival that happens every year. This annual village festival was a time of joy and celebration, a moment when all worries were set aside in favor of music, dance, and communal happiness. This year, the festival arrived amidst the swirl of rumors and whispers about Noma, offering her a much-needed break from the stress that had been clouding her days. As Noma stepped into the bustling village square, she felt the vibrant energy of the festival wash over her. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, and the air was filled with the scents of spicy grilled meats, sweet fried dough, and fresh fruits. Musicians played lively tunes on drums and flutes, and dancers spun and leaped with boundless enthusiasm. Ikenna found Noma among the crowd and smiled broadly. "Noma, come, forget your troubles for a day. Let's enjoy the festival together." Gratefully, Noma took Ikenna's offered hand, allowing herself to be drawn into the joy of the moment. Together, they tried different foods, laughing as they competed over who could eat the spiciest pepper without reaching for water. They watched children run playfully with streamers and homemade masks, and they clapped along to the rhythm of the drummers. As the evening progressed, a local band took to the stage set up at the center of the square. The music shifted to a more upbeat rhythm, and Ikenna pulled Noma towards the dance floor. "Come on, Noma, it's time to dance," he encouraged. With a shy laugh, Noma allowed herself to be swept into the dance, her feet moving to the lively beats, her worries temporarily forgotten. Surrounded by her fellow villagers, who were all lost in their own enjoyment of the festival, Noma felt her spirits lift. The dance floor was a swirl of colors and laughter, and for a few hours, it seemed like the entire village was united in celebration. As they danced, Ama and Chike joined them, both offering Noma warm smiles and friendly nudges. "See, Noma, life still holds joy," Ama shouted over the music, her eyes sparkling with fun. The festival continued into the night, with lanterns lighting up the square and stars twinkling overhead. For the first time in weeks, Noma felt light and carefree. The music, the company, and the festive atmosphere worked their magic, easing her heart and clearing her mind. When the night finally wound down and the last song played, Noma felt rejuvenated. As she walked home under the starry sky, accompanied by Ikenna and her friends, she felt more confident and hopeful about facing whatever challenges lay ahead. The festival had not only provided her a respite, but reminded her of the support and love of her friends and the simple joys of life that no mystery could overshadow. As the festival crowd began to thin and the lanterns swayed gently in the night breeze, Noma decided to take a quiet walk around the edges of the village square to gather her thoughts and enjoy the peaceful night. The joyful noise of the festival was now a soft hum in the background, replaced by the serene sounds of the evening. Noma strolled towards a small, secluded area near the village outskirts, a spot known for its beautiful view of the stars. The moonlight cast a silvery glow, painting everything in a soft, ethereal light. As she approached her favorite spot, she noticed a figure standing there, gazing up at the sky. The figure turned as she neared, and Noma stopped in her tracks, her heart pounding. It was a man she recognized but had never spoken to much, Mr. Okafor, a quiet and well-respected elder. known for his wisdom and kindness. Mr. Okafor, Noma asked hesitantly, her voice barely above a whisper. Ah, Noma, he said, his voice warm and gentle. I was hoping to speak with you tonight, under the stars. Noma felt a mixture of curiosity and nervousness. Me? Why did you want to see me, sir? Mr. Okafor smiled softly, stepping closer. I've heard of the troubles the gifts have caused you, and I feel it's time I explained. You see, I am the one who has been leaving you those gifts. Noma was stunned. You? But why? I knew your parents well, Mr. Okafor began, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. They were dear friends of mine. When they passed, I promised I would watch over you from a distance. I wanted to make sure you felt cared for, even if I couldn't do so openly. But the secrecy, Noma murmured, trying to process the revelation. Mr. Okafor nodded. I didn't want to cause a stir or set tongues wagging by giving you these gifts openly. Perhaps I was wrong to keep it hidden. For that, I am truly sorry if I have brought you any distress. Noma felt a rush of emotions, surprise, relief, but above all, gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Okafor. I've always appreciated the gifts, even though they brought some unexpected challenges. Let's walk back together, Mr. Okafor suggested, offering his arm. If you agree, we can tell the others. It might put an end to all the gossip. As they walked back towards the lingering festival lights, Noma felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. The mystery that had puzzled her and the village was finally solved, and the truth was far kinder and more touching than she could have imagined. Under the stars, with a trusted elder by her side, Noma realized that the village was her home, filled with unseen bonds of care and memory. And now, with everything in the open, she could truly begin to move forward, free from whispers and shadows. After leaving the festival, Noma and Mr. Okafor walked together to the river that flowed gently on the outskirts of the village. The quiet burble of the water provided a serene backdrop, perfect for the continuation of their important conversation. Moonlight dappled the river surface, casting shimmering reflections that danced with each small ripple. They found a bench near the water's edge, a spot secluded enough to ensure privacy. Noma sat, her mind still reeling from the revelations, and turned to Mr. Okafor with a mixture of curiosity and respect. Mr. Okafor, she started, her voice soft but earnest. May I ask why you chose to help me in such a secretive way? And why only now have you decided to reveal yourself? Mr. Okafor looked at the river, watching the light play on the water before answering. Noma, your parents were very dear to me. Your father and I were like brothers, and I promised him long ago that I would look after his family should anything happen to him. After they were gone, I watched over you from a distance, ensuring you were never in need. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. As for the secrecy, I worried that overt assistance might draw unwanted attention or influence upon you. I wanted you to grow strong and independent without the burden of obligation or the weight of public scrutiny. Noma nodded, understanding the delicate balance he had tried to maintain. And the timing, she asked. The timing, Mr. Okafor sighed, was a mistake on my part. I underestimated the village's reaction, and for that, I am sorry. I thought it was time to bring a little extra joy into your life, but I see now I should have approached this differently. Noma reached out, placing her hand over Mr. Okafor's. I am grateful for your kindness and your respect for my parents' memory. Knowing this has brought me a new sense of peace. How can we address the village's concerns? Mr. Okafor smiled at her maturity and thoughtfulness. I believe the best way is to be open about it now. Tomorrow, we can go together to the village elders and explain everything. With transparency, we can hopefully dispel any lingering doubts and restore your good name. Noma felt a profound relief wash over her. The mystery that had so clouded her life was resolved, and the resolution brought not only explanations, but also a deeper connection to her past and to Mr. Okafor. They sat together a while longer, watching the river flow peacefully. The night sounds of the village carried softly in the distance, a reminder of the life that flowed around and within them. Noma felt fortified by the truth, ready to face whatever came next, with a clear heart and the support of a newfound guardian. As they walked back to the village, the moon overhead seemed to bless their path, its light guiding them home. The next morning, as the village awoke under a clear sky, Noma prepared herself to face the village elders with Mr. Okafor. However, before they could set out, her uncle arrived at her doorstep, his expression stormy. "Noma!" he called out sharply as he entered her house without waiting for an invitation. His voice was laden with anger and disappointment. "I heard from a neighbor that you were seen late last night, talking in secret with Mr. Okafor by the river. What is this about? Why are you meeting secretly with men at night? Have you no respect for the promises you made to find out the truth and share it?" Noma, taken aback by his fierce tone, tried to calm the rising tension. "Uncle, please let me explain. It's not what you think. Mr. Okafor is the one who has been leaving the gifts. We met last night to discuss how to tell everyone the truth. He wanted to protect me, to honor his promise to my parents." Her uncle's face twisted with a mix of emotions, shock, confusion, and a lingering sense of betrayal. "You knew who it was and didn't tell me. I am your family, Noma. You should have trusted me to help you with this matter. Instead, you chose to deal with it in secrecy, making me look like a fool who cannot protect his own niece," he said, his voice thick with hurt. Noma reached out, trying to bridge the gap that had suddenly formed between them. "I only found out yesterday, Uncle. I planned to tell you this morning, with Mr. Okafor, in front of the elders. I wanted to handle this properly and clear up any misunderstandings." Her uncle, however, was slow to accept this explanation. "I must think on this," he said stiffly, his eyes not meeting hers. "I must consider whether I can still trust you, Noma. This has damaged more than you realize." With those heavy words, he turned and left, leaving Noma feeling shaken and deeply upset. Alone now, Noma reflected on her uncle's reaction. She understood his feelings of betrayal, but she also knew she had acted with the best intentions. The situation was delicate, and she had hoped to resolve everything smoothly by revealing the truth with Mr. Okafor at her side. Determined to mend the rift this revelation had caused, Noma knew she needed to act quickly and transparently. She decided to go ahead with the plan to speak to the elders, hoping that their support could help restore her uncle's faith in her. As she left her home to find Mr. Okafor and face the elders together, Noma felt the weight of her uncle's words. She realized that rebuilding trust would take time, but she was ready to start that journey, no matter how difficult it might be. Noma found Mr. Okafor, and they both went to the village elder together, where Mr. Okafor narrated everything about the secret gifts, as the elders listened in amusement. After her meeting with the village elders, which went better than she had hoped, Noma knew she still had one difficult conversation ahead of her, reconciling with her uncle. With a heavy heart, she made her way to his house. where the air felt thick with tension. Her uncle was waiting for her in the main room, his expression grave and his arms crossed. The house was quiet, the usual hum of daily life conspicuously absent. As Norma entered, her uncle's stern gaze made her pause at the threshold. Norma, he began without preamble, your meeting with the elders may have cleared the air with the village, but it has not repaired the trust you've broken with me. Norma took a deep breath, steadying herself. Uncle, I'm truly sorry. I never meant to undermine your authority or make you feel excluded. Mr. Okafor and I wanted to handle the situation delicately to avoid more rumors. Her uncle's voice hardened. Delicacy is not an excuse for secrecy, Norma. You acted as if you were alone in this matter, as if you had no family to turn to. Therefore, I must know that I can trust you again, and that requires more than just apologies. Norma nodded, understanding the weight of his words. What do you need from me, uncle? I need you to make a choice, he said, his eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her heart sing. Either you live here under my watch, where I can be sure of your actions and your company, or you must find a new place to live, one where your actions do not reflect upon me or our family name. The ultimatum hung heavily in the room. Norma felt as if the walls were closing in on her. She cherished her independence, but she also respected her uncle and understood his fear of disgrace. Uncle, please don't make me choose between my home and my independence, Norma pleaded, her voice trembling slightly. I promise to be more open with you. Can we not find a way to move forward without such conditions? Her uncle shook his head, his decision firm. No, Norma. It is time for tough choices. If you wish to remain part of this household, you must agree to my terms. Otherwise, you must prepare to make your own way. Tears welled up in Norma's eyes as the reality of his words sank in. She knew her uncle was acting out of a sense of protection, but his method felt stifling and punitive. With a heavy heart, she realized that maintaining her independence might mean leaving the only home she had ever known. I need some time to think about this, Norma said quietly, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. Take your time, her uncle replied, his tone softening slightly. But understand, Norma, my decision is final. As she left her uncle's house, Norma felt the weight of adulthood and its myriad challenges pressing upon her. The road ahead seemed daunting, but she knew she had to make a choice, not just for her comfort, but for her dignity and future. As Norma walked through the village center, the murmur of the community was palpable. Her recent conflicts and the ultimatum from her uncle had not gone unnoticed, and whispers followed her like shadows. Feeling the weight of every gaze, Norma kept her head down, her thoughts a turmoil of anxiety and uncertainty. However, amidst the whispering crowd, Ikenna stepped forward, his presence like a beacon. He approached Norma with a resolute expression, clearly intent on making a public statement. Ikenna, what are you doing? Norma whispered, apprehensive about drawing more attention. Ikenna smiled reassuringly and raised his voice, ensuring that everyone in the village center could hear. Fellow villagers, he began, his tone firm and commanding attention. I stand here today in full support of Norma. She has been honest and forthcoming about the gifts she received, which were meant in goodwill by Mr. Okafor, a respected elder. The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement, while others looked doubtful. Ikenna continued, it's easy to spread rumors and doubt someone's character, but it takes courage to stand up and speak the truth. Norma has done just that. She deserves our respect. not our suspicion. A few villagers clapped, but others exchanged skeptical glances, whispering among themselves. The village was clearly divided. Some appreciated Noma's openness and Ikena's bold support, while others held onto their reservations. Ikena turned to Noma, lowering his voice so only she could hear. No matter what happens, Noma, you have friends here who believe in you and will stand by you. Noma felt a mix of gratitude and fear. Thank you, Ikena. But won't this cause trouble for you? People might turn their suspicions towards you now. Ikena shrugged off her concern with a confident wave of his hand. Let them look. They'll find nothing but my unwavering support for a friend. It's time we all worked on trust rather than doubt. His words boosted Noma's spirits, giving her the strength to face the divided crowd. She addressed the villagers, her voice clearer and more confident than before. Thank you, Ikena, and thank you to everyone who supports me. To those who still doubt, I hope in time you will see the truth as it is. As the gathering dispersed, the reactions varied. Some villagers approached Noma and Ikena to express their support and understanding, while others left with whispers, their suspicions still intact. The divide was clear, but so was the circle of support forming around Noma, anchored by Ikena's unwavering friendship. This public endorsement marked a significant moment in the village, reshaping relationships and perceptions. For Noma, it was both a challenge and a reassurance that she was not alone in her journey, no matter the choices she would have to make in the future. As the village sank into a restless night, Noma found herself packing her few belongings under the dim light of a lantern. The decision had been heart-wrenching, but the resolve in her heart was clear. She could no longer stay in the village under the terms set by her uncle. It was time for a new beginning, however daunting that might be. Ikena had agreed to help her leave. He understood that for Noma to truly find peace and maybe one day return, she needed the freedom to grow beyond the confines and judgments of the village. Ikena, are you sure about this? Noma asked as he quietly entered her small house, his expression serious but resolute. Yes, Noma, it's the right thing to do, he replied, helping her to secure her bundle. You need a fresh start, away from all the pressure and the stairs. We'll head to my cousin's village. It's far enough to give you space, but close enough if you ever decide to return. The plan was risky. Leaving under the cover of night meant avoiding unwanted questions or attempts to stop her. But it also meant slipping away from the only life she knew. Ikena led the way, carrying a lantern to light their path through the less traveled roads of the village. Every rustle of the trees, every snap of a twig underfoot heightened Noma's anxiety, fearing discovery. They reached the outskirts of the village, where Ikena had arranged for a small cart with a reliable old horse to wait. The cart was modest, covered with a simple cloth to shield them from the early morning dew. As they loaded Noma's belongings, Ikena looked at her, his eyes softening. Noma, once we leave, things will change. You'll be free to build something new. Remember, no matter how far you go, you'll always have a friend in me. Noma felt a surge of gratitude mixed with sadness. Thank you, Ikena, for everything. I don't know how to repay you for all this. There's no debt between friends, Ikena replied, giving her a reassuring smile. Just promise me you'll take care of yourself. And that concludes the second part of Noma's story. Now, do you think Noma would come back to marry Ikena? Or she would betray him by getting married to his cousin? Or even the prince of the village she's heading to? Share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out what actually happened in part 3 of Noma's tale. Stay tuned.